I used to spend hours scrolling through Instagram and other social media platforms, admiring those seemingly perfect profiles. You know the ones I'm talking about. Flawless skin, perfect makeup, designer clothes, and stunning locations. Every photo looked like it came straight out of a magazine, and I found myself wondering how these people managed to look so incredible all the time. Last year, I met one of these perfect influencers in person, and it completely changed my perspective on social media beauty standards. Her name was Sarah, not her real name, and she had over 500,000 followers. Her profile was filled with gorgeous photos of her traveling the world, wearing expensive outfits, and living what appeared to be a dream life. We met at a local cafe for a collaboration project, and I almost didn't recognize her when she walked in. The person standing before me looked nothing like the goddess I had been following online for months. Don't get me wrong, she was naturally pretty, but in a normal, human way. Her skin had texture, she had slight dark circles under her eyes, and her hair wasn't perfectly styled like in her photos. During our conversation, Sarah opened up about the tremendous pressure she felt to maintain her online image. She showed me the raw photos on her phone, and then the edited versions that made it to her profile. The difference was staggering. Each photo went through multiple apps and filters before being posted. What looked like a casual snapshot actually took hours to perfect. She told me about the strict diet she maintained, the expensive treatments she underwent regularly, and the constant anxiety about her appearance. The worst part? She was only 23, but already considering preventative Botox because she was terrified of showing any signs of aging to her followers. The financial burden was equally shocking. Sarah spent thousands of dollars monthly on treatments, procedures, and products to maintain her natural beauty. She was in debt, but felt trapped because her entire income depended on maintaining this perfect image. Her followers had no idea that the effortless beauty they admired came with such a heavy price tag. As she spoke, I noticed how she constantly checked her reflection in her phone screen, adjusting her hair and examining her face from different angles. It was like watching someone trapped in a prison of their own making, constantly performing for an invisible audience. This meeting marked the beginning of my disillusionment with perfect social media profiles. I started noticing the subtle signs of editing in photos, the slightly blurred backgrounds around body curves, the impossibly smooth skin, and the unnatural body proportions. What once seemed aspirational now felt sad and deceptive. The real tragedy wasn't just the physical and financial toll this lifestyle took on people like Sarah. It was the ripple effect it had on millions of followers who believed these images represented reality, myself included. I had spent years feeling inadequate compared to these carefully curated images, not realizing I was comparing myself to something that didn't actually exist. After my eye-opening meeting with Sarah, I began researching the dark side of social media perfection. What I discovered was even more disturbing than I'd imagined. I found entire underground communities dedicated to sharing editing techniques, with people spending more time editing their photos than living their actual lives. One particularly haunting story came from a former influencer named Jessica, who reached out to me after seeing my posts about social media reality. She had maintained a perfect profile for 3 years before having a complete breakdown. Her story was a stark warning about the psychological cost of digital perfection. Jessica explained how she developed body dysmorphia from constantly analyzing and editing her photos. She would spend up to 6 hours editing a single image, obsessing over every minute detail. The line between her real self and her online persona had become so blurred that she couldn't look in the mirror without seeing flaws that needed fixing.
The financial aspect was equally devastating. She had maxed out credit cards, paying for procedures, designer clothes, and exotic locations for photo shoots. Behind every casual beach photo was an expensive trip funded by debt. Her seemingly luxurious lifestyle had left her nearly bankrupt, yet her followers continued to envy her perfect life. What struck me most was how the pursuit of digital perfection had isolated these women from real relationships. Sarah later confessed that she hadn't been on a real date in 2 years because she was terrified of being seen without her carefully curated appearance. Jessica admitted to losing most of her real friends because she couldn't relate to normal life anymore. The more I delved into this world, the more I noticed its impact on younger generations. Teenage girls were using advanced editing apps to alter their school photos. Young women were getting cosmetic procedures to look like their filtered selfies. The term Instagram face had become a legitimate phenomenon, with people literally reshaping themselves to match an artificial ideal. I started sharing these stories on my own social media, and the response was overwhelming. Hundreds of messages poured in from people sharing similar experiences. The pressure, the debt, the anxiety, and the loneliness of trying to maintain an impossible standard of beauty. Now, when I scroll through social media, I see beyond the perfect photos. I see the hidden costs, the emotional trauma, financial strain, and lost authenticity. I see people trapped in a cycle of perpetual performance, chasing an ideal that exists only in pixels. The most liberating moment came when I stopped trying to compete with these impossible standards. I began posting unedited photos, sharing real moments instead of manufactured perfection. Sure, I got fewer likes, but the genuine connections I made were worth more than any number of digital hearts. This journey has taught me that true beauty isn't found in perfection, but in authenticity. The real price of digital perfection isn't just measured in dollars. It's measured in lost moments, damaged self-esteem, and sacrificed reality. Sometimes the most beautiful thing we can do is simply be ourselves, imperfections and all. The illusion of perfection comes at too high a price, and it's time we stopped paying it.